Our greatest Conservative Prime Minister, Benjamin Disraeli, said that power has only one duty: to secure the social welfare of the people. Now, being held to account cements the legitimacy which governments derive from their democratic mandate. Beyond parliamentary accountability, over time, other checks and balances have emerged. With due respect to our excellent select committees and the ISC on which I serve, with its genesis in the late 1960s, the Ombudsman, perhaps in public terms, best represent that kind of independent and accountability, that sort of scrutiny. References to the Ombudsman for their considered deliberation are more an ornament to our policy. They have become an essential component of it. Members of Parliament from across the political spectrum represented in this debate today appreciate that just as things are not lightly sent to the Ombudsman, neither should their judgments be taken lightly. In particular, a government that attempts to brush under the carpet fallacies, faults and frailties identified by the Ombudsman is not just guilty of bad housekeeping, but concealing systemic failure. Yet that's exactly what has befallen the WASPI women. Those wives, mothers and grandmothers who toiled hard for Britain only to be told that their fair expectations of life after work were to be blighted by not just the consequence of government policy, the principles of which, by the way, they don't contest, but by the wholly inadequate implementation by a government department. In the words of the Ombudsman, maladministration and the DWP's communication about the 1995 Pensions Act resulted in complainants losing opportunities to make informed decisions about some things and to do some things differently, and diminished their sense of personal autonomy and financial control. The Ombudsman's remedy is to recompense on a scale, a series of levels from 1 to 6. The Ombudsman recommended level 4 in response. That means, quote, a significant and lasting injustice has to some extent affected someone's ability to live a relatively normal life. Few, if anyone, anticipated the current government's careless disregard of this just cause or the Ombudsman's recommendations. And unsurprising, because the Prime Minister himself made clear that he believed in fair and fast compensation. The Work and Pension Secretary said this injustice can't go on. I have been a long-standing supporter of the WASPI campaign. The Home Secretary said, I'm backing the WASPIs. I'll keep on fighting for a better deal for WASPI women. Even the Deputy Prime Minister said categorically that Labour would compensate the WASPI women as it is their money. I will give way to my honourable friend.
Very quickly, I've had about 100 emails from WASPI women in my constituency. The Ombudsman found there was a case to answer. He recommended 5 options for compensation, leaning towards option 4. Even if the government wouldn't grant option 4, does my right honourable friend agree they should at least give the WASPI women something?
I'm grateful to my honourable friend's intervention. In working alongside the member for Salford and the mover of the motion today, I met many WASPI women and have since. They are not unreasonable. They don't actually expect every line of their most ambitious desire to be met, but they did expect the government to make some proper reference back to the Ombudsman report and consequently to approach them with a proposal to settle their demands. Yeah. And I find it extraordinary the government didn't do that. I am genuinely really surprised the government didn't do that. They're reasonable people. They understand the constraints that the government's working within. They expected greater respect, greater reference, as I said, to that independent scrutiny from our Ombudsman. You might have thought from all that I've read out about what government ministers said when they were shadow ministers that the government's position was clear, but it appears not. And I say once again, as I have before, to this new minister, change course. Few of those with power readily welcome criticism. Fewer still enjoy being chastised, but some, just some, and I hope that includes this minister, correct mistakes, right wrongs, and do what's just willingly. And in so doing, they grace the very concept of political privilege. by nurturing popular faith in the rightful exercise of power. The challenges of meeting the reasonable demands of the WASPI women by simply implementing what the Independent Ombudsman recommended is an opportunity for those in government with responsibility to step up and dignify their office by doing what is right. The way that the WASPI women have been treated, Sir Edward, is just not fair. And when public faith in fairness is lost, to draw on the words of the great poet W.B. Yeats, the ceremony of innocence is drowned as it becomes clear that the best lack all conviction.
Jonathan Brash.
Thank you, Sir Edward. It's a pleasure to serve under your chairmanship.